Do I look like a gardener to you? I am a better, I am not a gardener. Hedging is for gardens. How does your garden grow?
With plus money.
With plus money. Hedging is for gardens.
Hello, everybody. Simon Holden here on Betting Weekly Live. It is Thursday, the 24th of July, and I'm with the boss man himself, Nigel Seeley. A man so hard-hearted. It is rumoured he watched an entire box set of Little House on the Prairie, sat there with a big grin on his face, never cried once. Now, I can't confirm that I wasn't there, but that's just a measure of the man. Nigel, you're excited about seeing Oasis tomorrow, but before that, we want winners, sir.
Well, yeah. I think I cried once, actually, when the little dog went off over the hill.
Oh,
but,
I can't even get past the bit where they run down the hill. Me, I'm gone.
It's gone, absolutely. Anyway, it's good to say. I think this is the first time me and you have ever done it. We've done one of these together, isn't it?
It's a reunion bigger than the Gallagher brothers, I think.
Yeah.
And probably will end as bitter and nasty as that will.
Could be 16 years since we do a next one after this one. But yes, will, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. First of all, I'm looking at the chat here. I mean, everybody's chatting about all these lower European matches and the preliminary rounds qualification for the European Conference. I mean, I'm not going to lie about it. I mean, my research doesn't really go down to that far level in European football, so I'll be taking notes of what the guys are saying there. So I've concentrated on the actual Europa League conference matches. There's some good matches there. There's 8 matches. Obviously, there's a huge amount of matches in the Conference League that Bet Rivers are covering. But I don't think I've even had a bet on the Conference League, even when it's like got to the final, semi-final. I mean, I try not to cover too many leagues in that level. Steve Witt and all these guys have covered those. But I've looked at the Europa League tonight, the 8 preliminary rounds in that competition, and there are some angles of attack that I quite like. Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's another example, of course, that soccer is now a 12-month of the year sport. So we're looking at the Europa League. We're also going to go to the tennis on the hard courts in Washington, both men and women. And folks, this is your show. So many people in the chat already. Ray Burke, Charlie DeLucci, many others. Let's see what your best bets are today. Like Nigel said, many of you are the real soccer experts on this show. And what are your tennis selections? And just a minor thing, what should Nigel Seeley wear for his Oasis concert tomorrow? I want to see the spreads on that, folks, because it's got a few
T-shirts and hats around. It's going to be a very messy afternoon. But
what do you think? Now already the Bet Rivers Network have told the real Brendan King that the songs are AI generated. The presenters aren't aware what's going to happen. I quite like that one today. The heavy metal one yesterday, I will be honest, I thought was a little bit offensive on the ears, but that was a nice gentle intro into today. And we are going to go to the Europa League first, Nigel, and you have some matches for us to look at. Of course, this is the one level down from the Champions League, but a prestigious tournament in itself.
Yeah, obviously the winners get into the Champions League. Tottenham did it last year, almost avoid relegation in the Premier League, and then they go into that. A couple of things before we go into that. I mean, I always thought that the songs were sung by, the rumor has it, was sung by Sean Calver. He used to sing a lot of those songs, but that was what the rumor.
I've heard him in the bath.
That's not quite. Oh, I'm not going to go there. And the other one, another Charlie DeLucci there, who's put up the message there. I mean, I've been following Charlie on social media. He's a very, very, very good horse racing judge. If you're in a UK horse racing,
he is. Yeah.
I
follow him on X.
He's very, very good. Okay, let's have a look at the Europa League matches tonight. These are the matches. They start a little bit later on today. I think the first matches start at around about 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is Banik Ostrava against Legia Warsaw. These are the 8 games that I've looked at tonight. Lots of stats and lots of information on these matches and picks that I quite like. And it's a mixture of goal lines and teams that, they were coming into the start of their new season, haven't played domestically yet, and maybe they might get them a little bit rusty. So, this time of year, don't really look at the minus money favourites and think they're absolutely good things, because it does take a lot of time for teams when they come in, first of all, for their first competitive matches to actually hit their stride. So you might look at some minus money matches here and be basing it on last year's form or form that you've seen over 4 or 5 years in European football. That might not be the best thing to do in the first matches. And there is some really, really heavy, different kind of weather forecasts across Europe this evening. You know, if you go into sort of Central Europe, it's a lot of rain around, and then you go over to sort of over towards some other parts of the world where we've got some matches a bit later on. There's some Moldova and all that area, real hot conditions. So the weather might play a big part tonight. So the first match we're going to look at is Ostrava against Legia Warsaw. I mean, this is the most evenly matched betting event on the card. If you look at it, plus 135 Banik Ostrava, plus 185 Legia Warsaw. Legia Warsaw went deep in the conference last season, obviously got beat by Chelsea. So their pedigree in European football is a lot better than the Czech side, Banik Ostrava. Ostrava are a side that obviously in the early 90s, I remember playing Manchester United in the Champions League, Aston Villa, those kind of sides in that kind of reign. They're not as good as that, obviously, and the Czech league has done backwards a lot, and the Polish league is a little bit better than the Czech league, and that's what we're seeing this price 135 and 185. The return leg will be seeing Legia Warsaw as probably about even money, I'm guessing. If you look at the stats, though, obviously the Czech league has already started, and they lost on the opening day of the season 1-0. Legia Warsaw played in 2 matches to get to this stage, to qualify for this stage, and they were both 1-0 and 1-0, 2-1-0 results. So the 3 matches that the 2 of them have played so far this season have all seen under 1.5 goals. There's only been 3 goals across 3 football matches. You've got Legia Warsaw, who haven't played their domestic season just yet. Ostrava have just played 1. There's a lot of rain forecast around kickoff time for this match. You're not in the Czechs. Cloudy, rain, downfalls throughout the game. Not heavy, but persistent rain. I think this one here, when you look at the betting of it, I think this is a game that's going to be quite cagey. I expect this to be quite tight. It's a first leg. First legs you always would expect to be a lot closer than the second legs. There's a lot at stake for the 2 of the teams to get into the Europa League proper. And I think we're going to start off here with a very, very close game. I think under 2.5 goals here. It's got their minus 117 from producer John did the graphic earlier. But I think it's now down to minus 127 the last I saw. Oh, no, it's gone back again. It's now back to minus 117. So there was a bit of money for it, and it's now flipped to minus 117. I think that this match here, being the state of the match, Legia Warsaw are a side that are more established playing in bigger competitions, going deep in competitions. And I think that Banik Ostrava will give them a test. Both sides are obviously going to be fit as the fiddles, start the season. And I think this one here is a close one. Under 2.5 goals. No surprise to start the season with me with an under 2.5 goal pick. But I do think this one here is a difficult one to call. Under 2.5 goals. If I was pushed, I'd probably lean towards the draw as well, the tie at plus 235. I think this is a close game, and I think it'll be all to play for next week when they play the second leg over in Warsaw.
Would it have been such a tight game that, just looking at the prices now, I mean, that draw must, obviously you going on the unders, but it's the biggest of the 3, isn't it? Obviously a tight game. Tempted?
Yeah, I mean, I quite like the draw. I think, I think 1 goal will nick it either way. And the weather, obviously, I think the better angle here is to play on the unders. I do like playing matches on the tie when they're the big, these sort of plus 135, plus 185, plus 155, plus 175 matches. But, if Legia Warsaw go 1-0 up, they're going to defend for their life and to hold on to that lead for the return leg. If Ostrava go 1-0 up, they might think that's a good result for them. So I believe here this is a cagey one. So the first bet for me this evening is under 2.5 goals, Ostrava v Legia Warsaw.
Excellent. So we're starting on the unders, folks. Very quickly, Nigel, but just one before it goes off, Maninda Prahad. Just want to deal this really quickly. As a golf bettor, how do you account for the forecast giving you the wrong steer? Of course, we did the big US Open special last Wednesday, both myself and Neil Channing. And I said the single most important factor in any Open is Mother Nature. Now, we don't just randomly look at weather forecasts here.
She missed the cut, didn't she?
We look, yes, she did. Yeah, on the unders, yeah. We look at every forecast we can get our hands on. and they were all saying about disruptive weather. So no one's more apologetic than me. Sorry, folks. I've had a good year on the Midge, but I got that badly wrong. And somebody did tell me I owed Chris Gotterup an apology, and I did personally message him, and he has liked it. So when you get it wrong, you've got to face up. So yeah, we don't just randomly look at weather. It was a bad week, and the forecasts were wrong and we were wrong. So apologies there. Right, Nigel, sorry, but I wanted to get that in at some point.
He watches the show if he's not playing golf. Obviously, Chris Gotterup's a big fan of Benny Midtjylland, so he's a massive fan. Yeah. The next match we've got is Sheriff Tiraspol against FC Utrecht. Sheriff on the side from Moldova. Utrecht, obviously the Dutch side here. This will be the first match of the season for Utrecht, and they did open up as a -140 favourite with Bet Rivers, and there has been a negativity towards them. They're out to +130 here. I believe that is purely and simply because it's their first match of the season, and as I said, I think it takes a little bit of time for teams to gel. They've been playing preseason friendly. They can go straight into this kind of match is going to be quite difficult for them. The other thing that I think is going to be a huge factor tonight, it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, so 6 p.m. in the UK. I think there'll be about 8 o'clock in the evening in Moldova, but it has been exceptionally warm. The temperatures are way into 100 degrees over in Moldova. So I think for a Dutch side, first game of the season, to go over to Moldova in these kind of conditions, obviously it's going to be cooler come kickoff time, but it's still going to be 30. It's going to be like high 90s or sort of 90s. That may be a problem for the Dutch side here to overcome. And I think first match of the season, I'd be slightly worried here. I'm not going to have a bet on the match, but I do believe that the conditions will suit the home side. And, you know, I'm not surprised that they are being moved in the market. They opened up at +375, now down to +360. I would expect that to probably go a little bit lower. There could be a case to make for Sheriff on the Asian handicap here. But I think that this could be a tricky little match here for Utrecht. First match of the season, away in unfamiliar conditions, traveling quite a fair distance in European standards and going into some really, really hot, sticky conditions. I think the home side may have an edge here at +360, but the line has gone. It has been moving, and the market is moving towards Sheriff in that one. So if they do get beat, don't shoot me down, but I do think that Utrecht could be worth opposing.
Yeah. Badge of honour. Do you think if you offered Utrecht a tie, they'd snap your hands off to get out of that heat and this time of year?
Well, you got to remember that a lot of these European sides, they're a match a week away from their league season, aren't they? So they don't really want to get anybody injured or hurt or go all out for a qualification game. They want to be, you know, as the season goes. And when you start these first matches of the campaign, that's where the body, and that's where more injuries happen. When the season when you're a bit raw, and at the end of the season when you're exhausted. So I think these are all very, very important matches for these sides. But there's some, you know, we're talking about a week away from the start of leagues across Europe, and if you haven't got your season in full flow, then going away to something like this, I think they will just be delighted with a draw and then come back and take them at home, you know, feeling a bit fresher and on familiar ground. So I think that's a danger. I think that's a real danger to be looking at teams at minus money in this particular round away from home.
You see, as I'm listening to and looking at this slate of matches, I'm hearing you, Jack, and the other guys saying about the start of the Premier League season, which is coming around, and do not miss our show every week on that, folks. But I'm hearing you last year saying, and every year, first 5, 6, 7, even 8, 9, 10 games, how you feel like rowing back till you get a real look at the league. Now, of course, we count this almost as pre-season, but it's not pre-season. You've just said these are massive games for these clubs. But yeah, are you wary as a better purely because we're not even in August?
Well, I mean, for me personally, I really don't get heavily involved in the betting the Premier League until around about November. That's where I sort of up my stakes. I'll get involved in matches. I'll start having a few bets and I'll start having some stuff, but I won't be betting the bigger stuff until I see at least 3 match form, sort of 3 month form. I know a very, very well-known odds compiler in England who was like sort of at the back in the day when he compiled odds. He was doing it, the coupons used to get the bench up. He was doing that by hand. And he was sort of like a mentor to me. And he turned around and said to me, no pro bettor should ever bet on the Premier League or any league in Europe until November the 5th, Guy Fawkes Day, but bonfire day, he used to say. Yeah. So you're taking everything, there's new managers coming in, new players coming in. It's going to take a bit of time to do. You're basing your whole form on what you've seen from last season and historically. Yeah. And you might get away with it in some of these because the gulf between the top ones and the bottom ones is very, very different. But I think these are tricky. I think these are very, very tricky times. And also for me, I'm on here today because obviously it's a busy schedule, but I'm in tennis mode really at this time of the year. And I'm looking at the Washington, I'm looking at Prague tennis tournaments, and then I sort of switch into football mode, soccer mode after the US Open starts. So I've had the summer of tennis, and now I'm doing this. But I personally wouldn't bet on anything other than lower than this level. Obviously, there could be better value, but I don't know the teams as much as other people. So I try to stick to this level where I've got a bit of a handle, got a bit of a feel for the team, and I understand it. When I go down to the Conference League, I like I say, I haven't bet on that tournament. I wouldn't know anything about the Gibraltarian or the Northern Irish sides. It just stopped not on my radar. My radar's on the sort of about the top 10 leagues in European football, and that's about it.
And of course, for those guys that specialise at those levels, they've got a real angle. They've got a real edge, haven't they?
And half of them are in this chat, so I want to get some winners.
I
want to get some winners off them for that leg.
Oh, by the way, the question: this is not a Wolves top. This is Roma. This is the Lion itself. So it's not a Wolves top. It's Roma.
See, Roma signed Ewan Ferguson, the centre forward from Brighton the other day.
Yeah, I got the email. Yeah, we've got him. We've got him. Yeah. So before we go any further. And we've got 2 more games to go for this. We'll do that first, and then we've got 6
more games to go for this.
6 more, right? Well, carry on.
We've got 6 more to go here. Well, put the graphic back up. Let's have a look.
Please. Where are you?
Okay, Levski Sofia against Braga. This one here is interesting as well because there has been a little. Let me just get the latest odds here. Levski Sofia, big negative, big negative. Drifted out from 3.7 to plus 450 now. Money for Braga in from minus 155 to minus 182. Now, that is a big move. So Braga are obviously a side with much more European credentials, the Portuguese side up against the Bulgarian side. Braga started the season with a 5-0 win at the season. But the difference between the two leagues here, and obviously here, the disparity between the Bulgarian league and the Portuguese league is why the bettors are taking Braga here at minus 182. So the Bulgarian season has started already, which is a positive for them. Obviously, the Portuguese league hasn't started yet. But if you're looking at the money move today, that's the big move on the money line today. Braga in from minus 150 to minus 182, and looks like they're going short. They could start for about minus $2. So that's a big Asian move. That's a big public play. And I think it's a move because Braga are probably one of the most established European teams. There's a few others that come on to later, but they're one of the most established European sides in this fixture playing tonight. And they're being moved. So 1:30 tonight, Braga, big move from Braga. Our next
if somebody
match,
does want to have a real go, that could be the one. That's the one with the pro.
Well, I think that's the one that the sharp money is, and that's the one that the Asian syndicate have got involved in. They think that Braga are going to cover the handicap, and if you look at the move, that's quite a big move for this. And I mean, it wouldn't take a lot of money to move it in the qualification for the Europa League, but Braga,
but enough compared to the others.
Yeah, they've been the biggest move on that list. Okay, the next match up, we have that's quite an interesting one for Scottish teams. Hibernian up against Midtjylland, the Danish side obviously owned by Matthew Benham, who owns Brentford. He's part of this. He owns part of this. Big move from Midtjylland as well. They've gone from minus 335 into minus $4. Hibernian on the drift out from some. Actually, they're pretty solid at 7. Just a move for Midtjylland here. First day of the season, Midtjylland drew 3-3 in the Danish league. If you look at Hibernian come third in the Scottish League last season behind Rangers and Celtic, which was a great achievement, really. We think Aberdeen started the season well. That was a good year for them. So I think this is all on the strength of how strong you think the Scottish League is compared to the Danish league. And if you take Rangers and Celtic out of the Scottish League, it's not the strongest league in Europe. And I think that plus 850, I mean, I just think that may look a little bit of a big price. I know Midtjylland have played in Europe for many, many years now. They didn't have a brilliant season last year by their high standards, but I think it will mean massive for the Scottish side here to get through to the next stage of this competition. They're a proud nation. They never really get beat heavily, Scottish sides. If you look, and majority of them do well at home, but away from home, they don't really get beat heavily. And I would be leaning towards Hibernian plus 1.5 goals in the Asian handicap. Midtjylland to win by more than 2 goals. You can get minus 110 on the Scottish side there. No real official play for me, but I think if the market continues to go for Midtjylland and they get to a silly price, I think minus $4 in a qualification match in the Europa League is very, very short price. I think plus 1.5 at minus 110 is a decent bet.
And Byron Morel, Hibs plus 1.25 goals at plus 117 is worth the pizza money. Now, all I will say is a lot of my Rangers and Celtic loving friends feel that ourselves as a group and everybody else in the sort of handicapping world was a little unfair to the Scottish teams last year. Who actually, you're right, Nigel, really got some very, very strong results. They are very strong at home. And I wonder if Hibernian have been a little bit disrespected by a couple of points there.
I don't think anybody should be $8 against anybody in this time of the season in a kind of competition like this. Yeah. And, I know Midtjylland have a good side, very well run, very well organised, done well over the Danish leagues for the last couple of years. But they had, like I said, they didn't have the best of seasons last year. And Hibs did have a very, very good season last year. So, yeah, I think that's a big, big price. Not necessarily tempted to bet them at $8, but we saw in the first legs of qualification in the last set of matches how many big price shots there was. There was a huge amount of shots there. So that could be a bet, but I do think the better bet would be them. I don't think they're going to get embarrassed by 3 or 4. Well, I hope they don't, but and they want to make it competitive when they get them back to Edinburgh in the next week. So yeah, plus 1.5, I would go for Hibernian at minus 110. I think it is.
Excellent. Right, let's roll on to the next game.
Yeah, okay. So now we got on to the second. Now, this is arguably this is the biggest match of the night, isn't it? Besiktas against Shakhtar. These are 2 Champions League veterans who have been around for years, who get involved in group stages of Champions League football for years, and now they're playing in the Europa League qualification. Shows you how strong this tournament is here. Now, Besiktas is managed by, do you know the manager of Besiktas is? Simon, do you know?
Yes, it's just give me long enough to type it in. No, it's the great man, isn't it?
Who's that?
No,
so I think the manager of Besiktas is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's the new manager.
Yeah, Solskjaer, ex-Man United, Norwegian guy.
Yeah.
A great man, yeah. Still very young looking. Do you know what? Just thinking, these are 2 sets of fans that will be very annoyed they're not in the Champions League.
Yeah, I mean, Besiktas, they didn't have the best of seasons last year. Shakhtar Donetsk, that they haven't been able to play at home for many years now because of the troubles. That that's where the problems are over in Ukraine. But Besiktas have brought in a lot of English players. Tammy Abraham, the England international, their striker from your club, Roma, come from Roma, didn't he? You remember you were a big fan.
Oh yeah, I got that email as well.
Yeah, Alexander Oxlade-Chamberlain, former Arsenal, Liverpool midfielder, plays for Besiktas now. So there's a good sort of English and sort of Premier League sort of familiarity with Besiktas now. Besiktas at home are always going to be a threat for anyone with their hostile atmosphere and their ferocious fans. And this could be a tricky one because Shakhtar Donetsk will not bring many people away from there. If you look at Shakhtar Donetsk last season, they only scored only 11 goals conceded on the road. So they had a very, 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 very they're very good defensively, Shakhtar Donetsk. And I know the euphoria is going to be around Besiktas that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first match in charge and all these new players, and there's going to be a feel-good factor here. But if they can silence the crowd, I know it's an old cliche, but if they can silence the crowd here and defend well, they can frustrate the life out of Besiktas here. No real official play for me, really, but I just think this could be a quite a low-scoring game. I mean, they've conceded 11 goals this season. They're currently 3rd in the Ukrainian league, Shakhtar Donetsk. But I think that this one here could be quite low-scoring again. It's a crazy match. And again, it's a match where you've got a plus 130 shot and a plus 180 shot. 2 evenly match size going at it, which always brings in the unders for me. But That's a cracking match at this level today. These are two big sides.
Oh, match of the day. And of course, that old cliche away in Turkey, just frustrate the team for the first half hour. And those lovable fans can very quickly turn. Just an aside, Nigel, when we look at the people that have taken on the Manchester United job since Ollie, whose stock didn't exactly rise when he left there, do you think his stock has risen due to the fact that nobody's done any better than him really since?
I don't know really. I wouldn't know. I think it all depends how he gets on here. I mean, he
was regarded as the ex-player that had been very lucky to get the job.
He did very well in Norway. He didn't do very well at Blackburn. He was a shock disappointment at Manchester United. He steadied the ship. They got other managers in, and it didn't. It hasn't really worked. I think Man United had to get rid of so many different players, and there was a bit of a cull at the club. The babyface assassin wasn't the right person to do that. But I think this is a big move for him, and he's only young. He's saying his managerial career to come to a club like this, to challenge and take a team that struggled last season to challenge for the title will be a very good achievement for him. He's got some good players. He's got the connections at the Premier League, so he's can see by Chamberlain and Tammy Abraham, so we can bring in that. If Man United want to offload some players, he can go to Old Trafford and bring in some players there. The Turkish league pays good money, so I think it's a good job for him. So I think he'll do it. But I think tonight will be quite a difficult match for them, and I think it'll be quite low scoring.
Yeah, I think he might do well there. I'll be watching Ollie with intent there. I might even have a few shekels on them tonight. But there we go. Right, let's move on. That's the game of the day, isn't it? That.
The next one is it's I don't know. I think the pronunciation is NK Kelly. I think is the J is silent. NK Kelly against Larnaca. Now I know Steve Wiss was all over Kelly. I think it's pronounced how last week on the overs. And they are just the over team, like literally 75 goals at home last season in 18 matches for them. Just an incredible amount of goals. They played in the 2 matches last week, goals galore. Larnaca have got goals in them as well. There is this one here looks to be the game with the goals. So I'm going over 2.5 goals here. And what I'm thinking, I'm quite confident it's plus 116. I'm really surprised by that because Calais or Calais, whatever they are the side that just renowned for goals. And their 2 matches in the qualification game before this was insane. If you look at it as well, they got a player called Kovacevic, Franco Kovacevic. He scored 3 goals already this season. And he's in I think it's 3 matches they played, 3 goals this season. He's on penalties as well. In a game where I expect goals, he's an anytime goal scorer. He's plus 230 with Bet Rivers. So that's Franco Kovacevic. He would be a lean for me at plus 230. But I do think goals on the menu here, plus 116. I'm not all about the unders. I do like a few goals as well. So I'd go over 2.5, over 3.5. Both teams to score, yes. I do think there's goals because whenever this side go to the pitch, there is always goals. So I'm going to go for them today to get there from Slovenia, and I expect goals in Slovenia tonight.
Now, when this guy goes on the overs, my ears prick up. I tell you what, if you're sat behind the Larnaca goal, you're going to get some action tonight, I think. So there you go. We're going on the overs on there. Now, Night Owl, keep it spinning.
Yeah, the next match we have is Anderlecht v Hacken. Anderlecht, obviously a former UEFA Cup finalists. They got beat back in the day by Tottenham. I remember that game.
Team on the decline, aren't they?
Well, the Belgian league has been on the decline. The Belgian league is one of the most declining leagues for years and years and years. The national side had that sort of time when they were doing brilliantly, and now they've gone back a little bit. But they're heavy favourites. I mean, minus 345? They were minus 278. They're now minus 286. So they're being bet. Hacken is the team they're playing. I mean, they're the Swedish side. They're not in the best of the Swedish teams they are, but only 18 goals in their 8 matches on the road this season. They're up a level here in this match, but again, they could make it a little bit difficult for Anderlecht. I think Anderlecht are being priced up here on former glories. I'm not quite sure whether they're the side that everyone expects them to be from years back. So I'm looking at the under again here. I think under 2.5 goals is plus 133, or we could go under 3 goals with a push at -127. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that we may be a little bit carried away by this Anderlecht side by the name of the team rather than what we've seen.
Yeah.
Recently.
Do you know what? That's a genuine danger, isn't it? As bettors that we face, that we have a kind of romantic notion of a club in our heads, don't we? And we look and go, I haven't even heard of who they're playing. What? And then, but we've got everything is about the power of now, isn't it? And the Anderlecht of now is a faded force to the one we remember.
Yeah, I mean, but the other thing, I mean, I suppose the reason why they're being bet is because it's the first leg and they're the side who you know they've got to go for it, and they're the team that have obviously got the better players, and you would say that they're obviously the name and they're going to be bet. But if you look at Hacken are 8th in the Swedish league at the moment, obviously the Swedish league has started, so they've got a big advantage that they've played 16 matches already, and that's another negative for Anderlecht as well. But in their road matches, Hacken have only scored 8 goals in 8 matches. They conceded 10 as well, so they're very tight on the road, and that, you know, for a first leg, if they go there to try to frustrate and defend against an Anderlecht side who, you know, the fans aren't as happy really with the way that they've seen over the last couple of years. They haven't started their season yet as well. I think this is quite a difficult fixture. So I was looking at under 3 goals at -127. Have the security of the push with the 3, but if you want to go a bit more risque, go for under 2.5 at +133. So that's my bet on the Anderlecht game. And the final match is Lugano against Cluj. And Cluj are obviously a side that have been around in European for years. Lugano obviously a Swiss side. Yeah. Lugano have the 4th worst home. They finished 4th, last season in the Swiss league, but they had the worst home defense than any other team in the division, and that includes the teams in the bottom 3. They conceded more goals at home than any other side. They conceded 30 goals in 19 matches in the Swiss league. Cluj are a side that have been around European football for years. They're shrewd operators. I don't, you know, when you're up against a leaky defense like this, I don't think that there should be a +230 shot. Cluj's season's already started over in Romania. They've played 2 matches. They're unbeaten. They've won one. They've won one and drawn one. And I think there's goals in this one. So I like over 2.5, which is -120, and both teams to score yes, which is -140. But if you put them together in the same game parlay with Bet Rivers and bet the over 2.5, and you bet that both teams to score yes, it pays even money. So I don't think we can trust the team like Lugano at home at +114 that have the worst home record in the whole. And if you think about it, that would be like who finished 4th in the Premier League last year? Was it Newcastle? Newcastle have got a worse defence at home than Leicester City, who got relegated, or Southampton. Yeah. I mean, that's a really damaging stat that they concede goals. So if they concede that many goals at that level of football, compared to Cluj, who are European teams that have been around for a long time, I quite like both teams to score an over 2.5 at even money there.
Yeah, and just listening now, because one of the imponderables is, do you take an inferior team who 5, 6, 7 games into a season against a higher quality team that haven't even started their league? What level do you put the fitness?
I'd always like to be with a team that played. I'd like the team that played 10 matches. Yeah, I would like to be with those. I like to see, and I think that's a huge factor because, you know, you've got 10 players. You've got a lot of these teams will have 6 or 7 new players. You would have seen how they play in that 10 matches. Yeah, exactly. You know, you're bedding in new players in the first match, and as I say, to come straight into a massive tournament like this first game, these are big matches for these clubs to get into their big money and get into the all important group stages of the league. But I do think goals are in that one. Lugano just concede too many goals, and I think Cluj they're a big price on the money line, but over 2.5, and both teams to score yes, even money is the bet I'm going.
Just before we move on, and Buelo Charles, Nathan Joyce, the great Nathan Joyce, our new superstar on the team, flagged both Sheriff and Hacken as teams to watch. So that's interesting. He's certainly made a great start. Now, folks, before we move on to the tennis, if you like what you hear on the shows, we're here Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Why not sign up for our newsletter? Get exclusive tips, get the free Insider magazine. It's completely free. Just sign up at bettingweeklystudios.com. and it will be in your inbox. And on Saturday will be the next edition. So get yourself signed up, and also sign up for the channel. So many people who do watch are not signed up. You will get the notifications. Just take a couple of seconds before we move on to the tennis. While you're just wondering about who Nigel's going to go for the tennis, just sign up, folks, completely free, and click that notification bell, and you will be notified when we are on. And of course, we've got so many exciting shows. Whatever sport you enjoy betting on, we have you covered in conjunction with the mighty Bet Rivers. Now, Nigel, you've just said that tennis, of course, is where your main headspace is at the moment. We know you'll be heading out to America soon for the US Open. How many years in a row is that you've been?
I mean, my 4th year in a row, I think. Yeah, 4th year.
Wow.
Yeah, very, very
lucky. Flushing Meadow.
Yeah, very
and
lucky.
Of course, you'll be watching the tournaments this week, both men's and women's in Washington, for some early clues for that. So when once the US Open's finished, how long does the hardcourt season go on in America?
No, that's it. They have a week off, and then they come over to the Far East. They go
right.
So it's now all about that now. So we're in Washington tonight. There are tournaments going on. If you look on Bet Rivers now, there's live in play in Prague. There'll be live in play in Umag, where Sean Calvert is, and there'll be the Washington tournaments coming up. Well, I think it's just about to start. Some of the matches are just about to start now. So these matches are a little bit later on today. So we're going to concentrate on. The most important thing you to remember here is it's very, very hot. It's very, very humid, and you need to be with players who can get with the conditions. And obviously, we've got 3 matches to talk on tonight. Dan Evans is the first one up against Corentin Moutet. The British guy, Dan Evans, has been sensational this week. I mean, he's beat Bergs and Mickelson as an outsider. Got beat by Djokovic at Wimbledon. He's won this title before. He loves these kind of conditions. He's up against Corentin Moutet, who is he's one of the most erratic tennis players. He's quite petulant. There'll be a lot going on off the court as well as on the court in this match. But Moutet has got a 2-0 winning head-to-head record against Dan Evans in his career. They met once on a hard court at the US Open back in 2020, though, and Moutet come through in 4 sets. But every single time these two are played, they've gone overs. And the way that they will be, I think this one here has the potential to go over 2.5 over the total games. I think the graphic was taken off there. I think it's 23.5. Was it 22.5? I'm not quite 100% sure what it was there, but I like the over 22.5. So I'm leaning towards over 22.5 tonight. Dan Evans against Corentin Moutet, 2 players who are, they'll make a lot of errors, but then they'll come back with some brilliance, and they're both as erratic as they are excellent. So over 22.5 games. I wouldn't be surprised to see this being over 2.5 sets as well. 2 matches per field, both have gone over. Alex de Minaur plays Lehecka. Lehecka is our tip to win the tournament from Sean Calvert. He's a big underdog here. They have met twice before, actually. They met at Queen's Club on grass earlier this year, where de Minaur was a big favourite, and Lehecka beat him easy, 6-4, 6-2. They met in the Davis Cup as well. de Minaur won that one, but it wasn't easy. It was 4-6, 7-6, 7-5. I think Lehecka's a bit of value here. I quite like Lehecka on the money line. And I would say that he could be a better plus 160. I really like him plus 2.5. Sean's on him to win the tournament, which is always a good thing. So I'm going with Lehecka there. And our final match is Cobolli against Francis Tiafoe. Francis Tiafoe is local to Washington. He is also one of our picks to win this week at 20-1. But he's up against the Italian Cobolli, who is a player on the rise at the moment in men's tennis. He reached the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, got beat by Novak Djokovic, took a set off Novak Djokovic. And he's a player I think has got a big future. The only problem here is Tiafoe has met him once before in Delray Beach last year, which is a similar kind of weather conditions to Washington on a hard court, and he won very, very easy, 6-4, 6-2. So I'm hoping for Tiafoe to win. I wouldn't bet him at minus 132, but we've got Tiafoe for us running for the tournament. So if you haven't bet Tiafoe or Lehecka already to win the tournament, I'm going to go for Lehecka tonight to win on the money line, and I'll go for over 22.5. on the Evans v Moutet match.
So our producer Troy is going to be looking over his fence just 3 miles from the venue, and he says it's unseasonably cool for this time of year.
Yeah, but unseasonably cool to them is like 100 degrees.
Yeah,
it's
You'd be like courtside sweating. Yeah, that'd be awful. It'd be awful.
Yeah. But I think it's the humidity is the most important thing, and that's the thing. I mean, Troy's right there, but I was watching it last night. A lot of people taking a lot of breaks, drink breaks, and it might be different today, but you need to be fit, and you need to be able to go the distance to win in Washington. If you're not coming here fit and you haven't got any staying power, then you're in trouble.
Yeah. Right. We shall move on. That's the men's. And now we're going to have a quick look at the old outrights. And first of all, we've got a question for you, Nigel. Are you fading Raducanu, of course, is your nemesis? Let's get that out of the way first.
I'm not having a bet on the match, to be honest with you. We'll come on to that in a minute. No, I think it's a big match for both players because whoever wins this will really feel they've got a confident time to go through to the American hardcore. I think they'll really think themselves, you know what, we've got a good chance here to go deep in some of these tournaments. But let's have a look at the matches. They're the outright market there. Rebecca is plus 205. Jessica Pegula, the number one seed, is plus 320. Only one number one seed has ever won this tournament. So the number one seeds have a terrible record here. Unseeded players have done exceptionally well. So I'd look more for a shock than the people at the top of the market. I was very close to tipping Sofia Kenin to win the tournament, but I went for McCartney Kessler instead, who got beaten round one. So Kenin could be of interest to me at 20-1, but she does face a tough match tonight, which we're going to come on to now.
Right.
They are the matches. So the first match, Raducanu, Osaka. Again, I just couldn't call that match. I think the odds are about right. Sometimes the best bet is no bet. There has been some money for Raducanu all day. She has been bet very, very heavily. I think yesterday she started about minus 115. She's now minus 130. That's quite a decent move. But whenever Raducanu is expected to win and I bet her, she always loses. And when I don't expect her to win, she wins. So that's a difficult one. Taylor Townsend against Sophie Kenin. I thought Kenin had a tougher match. Taylor Townsend, All-American affair. I like Kenin at 20-1 to win the tournament because she's minus 195 here. She's playing an opponent she's played many times before. She's 4-3 in the head-to-head record. But I think you could have a quarterfinalist at 20-1. Kenin's showing signs of improvement. I know she got beaten. She got beaten the second round at Wimbledon. It was a bit of a shock, but coming into Wimbledon, French Open, she did well. I think she's got a big week in her. I think she wants to get right for the Open, so I think she'll cover that. I think she'll win that easy, Kenin. And I think at 20-1, she could be a little bit of interest in the outright market rather than the match herself at minus 195. So
you would advise a little nibble in the outright rather than
I would. I just 20-1. You keep me on the quarterfinalist at 20-1, and draw opens up. A couple of seeds go out, and you're laughing. So I would advise that. So that would be that. And I think there's two other matches tonight. Jessica Pegula is the number one seed. As I said, the curse of the number one seeds in this tournament. She's playing Leylah Fernandez, the girl who Emma Raducanu beat in the final of the US Open all those years ago. But Pegula does have a 3-0 winning head-to-head record against Fernandez, all on hard courts. She's won the lot, but every single one of them has got cashed over. So you might want to look at the over 21.5. Pegula let me down at Wimbledon, got beaten the first round. She should beat Fernandez, but it might be a little bit more difficult than that 21.5 goes. And then the big story, Venus Williams against Magdalena Freck. Now, this is 45 years of age, won yesterday at plus... She was 16-1, and she got beaten to 12-1 to beat Peyton Stearns. Now she's up against Magdalena Freck, and the market has just had an absolute rebase on her. Plus 285. She was $4 yesterday, so they're coming for Venus Williams. She got beat in the doubles yesterday, so she's playing doubles as well as the singles. 45.
The heat and the humidity, surely at that age is going to trouble her.
But I think with her serve, she can get away with it. And she wasn't really tested in round one. She played. It was very one-sided. She got the job done. She played a clever match for a 45-year-old. She didn't really get involved in long rallies. But the market here is getting maybe a little bit carried away with the story. People are thinking, she was 16-1 to beat Peyton Stearns. And if Peyton Stearns played Freck would be a favourite against Peyton Stearns. And now she's plus 285 to beat Freck. So the market might have got carried away with it a little bit. I mean, it all depends on how quickly she starts. If Freck goes a break up, then I think Freck and I think she could to beat her quite easy, and the story dies. But if she can get the crowd going, it'll be packed out. It'll be box office stuff. Crowd will be very, very ferocious in her favour. If she can get the crowd going, she can go on. She can't win the tournament. She'll get found out eventually. But it's a staggering thing because Fresh would be favourite against Parks. Venus was 16-1 against Parks, and now she's plus 285 to beat Freck. I mean, the market has got a little bit carried away with it, but the story's good. And, I've seen stranger things happen, but I wouldn't be rushing to bet Venus Williams at plus 285.
But not many.
No. I mean, 5.5 seems a high handicap, really, though, for a 280 shot. I mean, you got a plus 190 shot there. It's only 3.5, but there is that part that Venus Williams could bomb in the second set.
Don't you think that with all these great romantic stories, there's that time when reality bites, isn't there?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a great matchup for Venus Williams, really. I mean, Fretch isn't the best player in the world, not in the best of form, but it could go on for one more, but it's not going to get the end that you wanted. I mean, she hasn't won back-to-back matches, Venus Williams, since 2023. I mean, it's like, and then she only did it once in that season, so. At 45, I think it's hard. The conditions are going to be much cooler tonight, so that's favourable to her. They're going to put her on night, so she's not going to be put in the day when the humidity's hot and the weather's hot. So they're going to do everything they possibly can, but there is a tendency. Say, for example, she loses the first set 7-6. She could be spent for set number 2, and she could blow out, and that will be where I play. I think it's an in-running bet tonight. I think watch the first set. If she loses a tight set, don't think she can replicate that. If it certainly goes into a third set, then there is a bomb out factor there. But Fretch is going to be a bag of nerves, big nag of nerves playing Venus Williams with the story like this in the American capital,
and the crowd will be very hostile to
us.
Yeah. Just catching some messages. Jane says, "Go Emma." Of course, Nigel's nemesis there. He's not playing tonight. He's not putting the toys out. Wow. Solo says hello from Nigeria. Hello back. Rick 73 says I'm on Lerner TN at 300 to 1 each way for Washington. He now is 28 to 1.
300. What a call that
him and my bank manager the best wishes. We're all pulling for you there. That'd be a fantastic win, and we'll all be around your house the next morning. Enigma says, what about Tien Fokina? Any opinion on that, Nigel? Be very careful how you say that, brother.
Tien had a big win against Andre Rublev, and my logic all the time is when someone has a big win, the letdown is there around the corner. There has been money for Tien throughout the day. David Fokina is a player that just doesn't convert winning chances. You're always going to get an opportunity with David Fokina, but he did play well, David Fokina, in the last round, I must admit. I just fear that when you've beaten one of the seeded players, and you suddenly get everyone talking about you, and your odds go from 300 to 28 to 1, then you realise, this might not. It might be a little bit too much for you. But David Fokina's got married recently. Always a big sort of bounce back when people have married or have a child, and he played well. So unfortunately, I'll be cheering for the 300 to 1 shot. But
we'll be cheering for you, brother.
I think David Fokina may be a little bit too strong.
And lastly, A said Stearns played one of the worst matches ever from a pro player that I've ever seen. No drop shots. Where were the drop shots, Nige?
She was awful, but I think sometimes when you play a great like that with the whole crowd, you're beat before you go on court, and I think she was beat coming out the locker room.
Now, folks, before we go, I've got to tell you about the specials and the live streams from the mighty Bet Rivers. Now, Thursday house special. 50 or more runs scored across the 5 Thursday Major League Baseball games. That's plus 160. That looks a very tasty bet to me. And the notable Thursday live streams. Ajax v Celtic. That's a very intriguing friendly. The 8 Europa even, and I've got my glasses on, Europa League qualifying matches. 36 Conference League qualifying matches. 2 Copa Sudamericana matches, ATP, Washington and UMAG. And, of course, head over to Instagram where the great Sean Calvert is at a tournament and will be providing exclusive Instagram plays, WTA Washington, and the World Match Play Darts will be streamed. What about that, Nigel? You thought it was a myth. It was true. Blackpool has gone to Bet Rivers. They said it would never happen. Maybe it shouldn't have happened, but it has. Blackpool, you can be live streamed on the darts. If that doesn't make Luke Littler wobbly, then nothing will. And folks, we're not finished yet on the channel. At 2 o'clock Eastern time, we've got Betting Weekly Hardball. All your best bets on Thursday's Major League Baseball action. Do not forget that special, of course, that I've just told you about. And then we're not finished yet, because at 3 o'clock Eastern time, it's Betting Weekly Fast Break. They talk more WNBA and more things basketball. So keep it here on this channel. We have you covered. Now, Nigel, it's not for me as the boss. Well, I say as the boss, I mean you as the boss. I am a humble hired hand. It's not for me to tell you when to go to bed, when to relax, but surely with your big Oasis concert tomorrow, you will not be up too late. It's going to be a long day. 8 and 9 o'clock. I'll be buzzing you, mate.
Yeah, I'll be going to bed early, mate. But just give you a bit of a recap of what I like tonight. So, match is going to start in about 10 minutes. Ostrava v Legia Warsaw under 2.5 goals, -117. The game that I can't pronounce, NK Celje, I think it is, but it's spelled Celje, over 2.5 goals at +116. I'm going to go for Franko Kovacevic, anytime goal score at +270. Anderlecht v Hacken, I'm going to go under 3 goals at -127. I wouldn't put anybody off going under 2.5 goals at +133, but under 3 goals with the push. Lugano against Cluj. Both teams to score yes and over 2.5 goals in the same game. Parlay plays even money with Bet Rivers. That's the 4 bets on the football tonight on the Europa League. And on the tennis, I can't remember all of them, but I need to put the graphic back up if you could for the tennis. I can't remember. I've Dan Evans v Corentin Moutet over 22.5 goals games at -103. Lehecka to beat Alex de Minaur at +160. I like that. And on the women's, I'm just going to get that graphic. Nothing on that one, nothing Raducanu. And I quite like the over 21.5, not an official play, over 21.5 in Jessica Pegula. So the 2 official plays on the men's. So that's the football and the tennis all up. Good luck with your bets. And
I'm going to go for the babyface Solskjaer to get off to a winning start with Besiktas, and reality to bite Venus Williams to get beat in straight sets. So thank you, Nigel. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thanks for everybody who's commented. Keep it here on the channel. Always gamble responsibly, of course. And I think tomorrow it's Dangerous Dan Roebuck with Tim Dennis, I believe, Nige, on the show tomorrow. I think for a Friday special.
Tim Dennis is talking tennis.
Exactly. So make sure you tune in there at 11 a.m. Eastern time. They'll take you through everything going tomorrow and mention some things over the weekend. And we, young Nigel, will be back on Monday to take you through the start of the week. And we shall look forward to that. Have a great day, everybody, and cash some winners. And we'll be back tomorrow on this channel. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Nigel.
Take care, boys. See you later.
Bye, everyone.